2021 is a brand new year, and you want a brand new house? Yay you! But figuring out where to start that process can be a little bit complicated. Let me walk you through the steps that you need to know to purchase a new home. I'm Caroline Reed with The Real Deal, where we give you the confidence and the clarity that you need to make the right real estate decisions for you. And today we are going to go through the steps that you need to know when purchasing a new home. And I know this is a lot of information that's going to be coming at you, so don't worry about remembering everything, because down in the description section, I'm going to put a link to a PDF that you can download that will have all of these steps listed for you. So the first thing you should do is answer the question, are you ready? Take a look at what you've got going on in your life, both personally and financially. Some personal factors that may be involved in this are, what are your career goals? If you're thinking of taking a job promotion that you know is going to move you to Colorado in a couple of years, well, maybe you don't want to buy a house. Or if you want to start a family and you're going to need more bedrooms, well, then maybe you do want a new house. But also take a look at your financial factors. Do you have enough cash reserves? Not only are you going to need a down payment and you're going to need closing costs most likely, but do you have enough set aside for emergency funds beyond that? What is your employment status? Have you been in the same job for the last 2 years? Lenders like to see an employment history of like 2 years. Now, if you've changed jobs and it's in the same industry, if you're a doctor and you went from one clinic to another clinic, you're going to be just fine. But if you've made a complete career switch in the last couple of years, that might be a problem. You might have to wait a little bit and establish that employment history. Another factor is DTI, debt to income ratio. Do you have enough money coming in every month to cover not only your payments that you have to make going out, but your future house payment, and still have enough left over? And also, what does your credit score look like? There are loans that you can get a house as low as a credit score of 500 with an FHA loan if you have enough cash reserves in the bank. Most banks like to see it at maybe 680 or higher, depending on the loan type that you get. But is that credit score of yours in a range that's high enough to get you the loan that you need? So once you've gone through all that and you've decided, yes, I'm ready to buy a house, well, the next thing that you need to know is, how much can I afford? What does your budget look like now? Does the housing payment that you have now fit comfortably in your budget? Or do you have room for a higher house payment? Or do you maybe have some loan payments that are going to be dropping off soon? You're 3 months away from paying off that car, so you know you're going to have that little extra in your budget. What does your budget look like, and is it comfortable? What kind of a future payment will you be comfortable with? Now, one thing you can use to help you is to go online. There's lots of places that have home affordability calculators. Zillow has a pretty good one that has a lot of extra things that you can plug in, like homeowners insurance and taxes on the property. And it will help you figure out all those things that you need to take into account when figuring out what that payment is going to be and what payment you can afford. So go ahead and plug your numbers into the calculator, or sit down with a piece of paper and write out your budget, whatever it is. See what that house payment is that you are going to be comfortable with. Once you figure that out, start saving money. I can't say that enough. Start saving money. Because like I said, not only do you need closing costs and you need a down payment, and there are going to be moving expenses, but there's going to be house expenses after that. That washing machine might break down the week after you move in. Who knows? It's happened to me. And once you get into that house, you're going to want to have a little fun money left over so that you can buy those new bar stools or whatever the case may be, but you want a little extra left over as well. So start saving your money. Next, we need to start working on the mortgage. So here's where you're going to go out and find yourself a lender or a mortgage broker that you feel comfortable with. You can use either. You can go to a lender like Wells Fargo and use their people and get their loan, or you can go to a mortgage broker who is somebody who shops all of the loans available for you and finds the ones that will fit you the best. But First, you want to find a person to work with that you work with well. You're going to be working with this person a lot. You need to have confidence that they are doing a good job, that they know that what they're talking about, and that you work well with. So find that person either with the lender or with the mortgage broker. Find that person that you work well with and go ahead and start getting pre-qualified. Pre-qualified just means that they're going to take your numbers. You're going to say, I make $50,000 a year or I make $5,000 a month. That's what I bring home gross. They're going to take your numbers and they're going to put them into their calculator, and they are going to come up with a number that you would qualify for, so that you can start the process of going out to look for a house. That's a very informal process. Now, if you are ready to really start looking, then you can actually go ahead and get pre-approved, which is you give them all of your financial information, your W-2s, your tax returns, your last 2 months of pay stubs, your last 2 months of bank statements for all of your accounts. That's when they will actually pull your credit and give you a more hard estimate of what you can afford. That way, when you do find that house that you want, you will be ready to go at the drop of a hat and you won't miss out on that house. Next is to go find yourself a good real estate agent. Now, this also needs to be somebody that you work well with. You need to have confidence that they know what they're doing, that they know what they're talking about, somebody that you feel comfortable with. And don't be afraid to go out and get referrals from friends and family, somebody that they have worked with already and can vouch for them. And remember that your agent as the buyer is usually paid for by the seller. So you can feel free to go ahead and just find somebody that you feel comfortable with. And now would be a good time to decide what are your wants versus what are your needs. If you've got 4 kids and you need at least 4 bedrooms, you know that that's a need. If you have 2 cars, but you'd like a 3-car garage, that is a want. Sit down, make a list of those wants versus needs, because not every house is going to tick every single box. At least that's pretty rare. So you are going to want to know ahead of time which boxes you don't need to have checked to make this a great house for you and your family. And some things that you want to consider are number of bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage of the house, the city that it's located in, the taxes for the area, but also things like, is it available or is it close to public transportation? Or is it close to a highway if you have to commute to work? What amenities are in the community that you're looking for? Do they have water parks for the kids or lots of trails and things like that if you like to go out hiking? What amenities are in that area? And also, are you willing to take on a DIY project? Are you willing to take a house that needs somebody to come in and replace those avocado green appliances and take out that shag carpeting and put in some new stuff and gain equity that way? Is that something that you're willing to do? Now comes the fun part where you can actually start looking. And you can go ahead and look online. Obviously, there's a million different websites you can go to online to look up houses. Realtor.com, Zillow.com. There's a ton of them. Use whatever one that you want. But I would also recommend having your real estate agent set you up on an auto email system. This is a system where your agent will put in all the criteria that you're looking for, all of those needs. They will put those into a system that they have through their MLS that will kick back to them daily, weekly, or monthly, however often you want. It will kick back the results of the houses on the market that meet your criteria, and it will send you automatically those listings. Super handy, super important in this market that we have going on where there are too many or not enough sellers and too many buyers. You are going to want to get those listings as soon as possible. And while you're looking, do me a favor and look right down below and hit that like button. So you found the perfect house and you're ready to make an offer. Yay! Well, firstly, you need to know that everything is negotiable. The price is negotiable. The closing date is negotiable. Personal property can be negotiable. If you want them to leave that pool table that's in the family room downstairs, you can ask for that. And I always tell people to look for a price where you feel comfortable if you don't get it and comfortable if you do get it. That's usually the sweet spot when you're looking for trying to decide what price to offer. Your agent's going to come in and give you a whole bunch of paperwork to fill out. That person is going to put that whole offer together. If you have been pre-approved by your lender already, they will add that pre-approval letter in there as well. You also need to know that when the seller reviews this offer, they are also going to be expecting earnest money. Earnest money is cash that you deliver up front, usually about 1% of the purchase price. That lets the seller know that you are serious, because under certain conditions, you could actually lose that money. So it just lets the seller know you have skin in the game and you are serious. So just be prepared to write a check up front for, like I said, about 1% of the purchase price up front. And then those monies are held in escrow and will be applied to your down payment at closing. Now, once the seller gets your offer, they have 3 choices. They can either accept it, they can reject it, or most likely they will counteroffer with an offer of their own. And you guys can go back and forth, counteroffering until either one of you gets done and decides to just reject, or you guys come to an agreement and you have a deal. Once that deal is signed, the next step is an inspection, which is not necessary, but I highly recommend it. And always remember that when you get that inspection done, there's always going to be something wrong. Even brand new construction has things wrong that inspectors find. It's amazing. So don't be surprised when your inspector shows you this huge list of things. Now, what you need to do is look at that list of things and decide which things are a big deal and which things are not a big deal. Crumbling foundation, big deal. Stopped up toilet, not a big deal. So once you figure out the things that are a big deal, you can sit down. There will be a window for negotiation with the sellers where you can sit down and say, okay, here are the things that are really big that I'm having a problem with, that make me really not sure if I want to buy this house, and say either, okay, take, $5,000 off the purchase price and I'll get it fixed myself, or please have this fixed before we close. And there's that window of negotiation where you and the seller can go back and forth and decide how you're going to deal with those issues. And if you have an inspection contingency in your offer, this is the place where if you and the seller cannot come to an agreement on what to do about those, where you can back out of the deal using that contingency and still retain your earnest money. Now, if you want to learn more about inspection contingencies and other contingencies, go ahead and click this link right here. The next step moving forward is the appraisal. Now, if you are getting a mortgage through a bank, the bank is going to require that appraisal and they will go ahead and order it for you. If you are paying for this house in cash, it is highly recommended that you pay for and have an appraisal done to make sure that that house is worth what you are actually paying for it. And you can actually add a contingency in the offer that says, if the appraisal comes in less than what I am offering to buy this house for, we need to renegotiate. At this point, there's not a whole lot to do. It's mostly the banks working on getting the mortgage done behind the scenes. Your mortgage lender or mortgage broker might call you for certain documentation that they need, but for the most part, it's a waiting game while they do their job. That brings us to the final walkthrough. And this is something that you really need to do. You need to go to that house and make sure that it's in the same condition as it was when you offered on it. Check all of the systems, the electrical systems, the plumbing systems. Make sure that they are all working yet. Check that any repairs that the seller agreed to make, that those have all been done. Check and make sure that the seller hasn't left any belongings behind. It seems like a minor detail, but it really is important. I have been on final walkthroughs where we were checking the plumbing system, we flushed the toilet upstairs, and lo and behold, it actually started to rain downstairs. So it is something that you should do. So here we are, closing! You will get a closing statement from either your closer or your mortgage person 3 days prior to closing. So you have a chance to look at it. What it is it shows you all of the closing costs that both sides have to pay, all of the financials that deal with this situation. So you can take a look and make sure that all of those costs are correct to your understanding. And if you have questions, you have a chance to go back and say, I don't think this is right. Walk me through this. And it will also show you how much cash you need to bring to closing. Now, your closer will have already set up with you the date and the time and the place, so you know where to go, and they'll tell you anything that you need to bring. Generally, you need to bring your ID, and you need to bring a cashier's check for the cash that you need to bring to closing. And closing itself, I can say, is one of the most nerve-wracking, exciting, and gratifying experiences ever. But after an hour or so of signing a whole lot of paperwork, my favorite is the piece of paper that you need to sign for the Paperwork Reduction Act. You will get the keys to your new house. Click right here to learn about the 5 most common mistakes that buyers make so you don't make them. And click right here to learn about the differences between FHA and conventional loans if you're ready to start digging into which loan is best for you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.